In this tutorial, I'm going to cover Google Docs App Script fundamentals. We're going to start with a pretty basic document here. As you can see, we have a little document with a little bit of text. If you pay attention, for example, like this paragraph here is normal text. We have this paragraph here, which is a heading 1. So there are different headings. This is subtitle, this is title. This text is bolded, you can see here, and basically regular Google Docs stuff. I'm sure if you're watching this video, you know some Google Docs basics. So I'm going to go ahead and open my script editor. I'm going to do that by going under Tools, and I'm going to find Script Editor. It's right there, so I'm going to click on that. This should open my script editor. Now I'm going to go ahead and do Command plus a couple of times to zoom in. I'm going to start by giving a name for this project. So I'm going to click here, give this Google Docs Basics. So you can name it anything you want. Obviously, it doesn't really matter. It's just the name for this project. And here we have our function. So to start with app script fundamentals for Google Docs, the main thing we need to understand is the structure of the application. And the structure is, if we just think about this, like Google Docs is similar to Microsoft Word, right? So if we think about Microsoft Word, we usually have the application. Microsoft Word, you'll have the application that's installed on your system. So that's our application. Then after the application, after you open Microsoft Word, you'll probably go ahead and open a file. So that will be that file. What we call opening a file is our document or our file, whatever you want to name this. So just file. So we're going to open our file in our application. And after that, in our file, we have all of this text. And each line of this text is a paragraph. So the way we define a paragraph is when we go someplace and hit enter. So once I hit enter, that makes another paragraph, or I can delete a paragraph. So this first paragraph is this one, then the next one is this, then the next one is this. So each new line basically is a new paragraph. So now going back to our script, now we need to programmatically be able to talk to our Google document over here. Now we're going to do that with JavaScript. That's the programming language in app scripts. So we're going to start with an object called DocumentApp. So DocumentApp is the application. So the way I was talking about is, let's say the Microsoft Word would be the app. So if I do the application, now in this application, Microsoft Word currently, I have this active file that's currently already opened. So I can look for that file by looking for get active document. Active document is going to be our current file that's currently here. So that's our get active document. So I'm going to store that in a variable. So I'm going to go here and say var AD for active document. That will be, I'm going to go to my document app and get the current active document. So now in my current active document, I can look for AD dot. It's going to give me different methods that are available. Now I could add a footer, add a header, add some different things. But what we're going to do right now is simply just get the body of our document. So when we talk about getting the body of our document, we're basically thinking about getting this part of our document. Now you could have, see on top here, you could have a header, you could have a footer all the way down in this area, but the body is going to be basically the center part. The core of your document is your body. So I'm going to save that to a variable again. I'm going to say var doc body equals to this. So that should save it to a variable doc body that should get basically all the contents of our document. And again, that's not going to be the first page, it's going to be all pages. So if you have multiple pages, that's going to get all the content for this document. Now I'm going to go back. Now I'm going to access that doc body element. And if I do period, it's going to give me methods that are available for this particular body. So I'm going to start with one method that you should probably definitely know, and that's get paragraphs. That's going to get all the paragraphs in this document. So as you remember, paragraph is basically something that's separated by a line. So that should save all these paragraphs to what's called an array. So if you're familiar with JavaScript or really any programming language, you probably understand it's an array or a list. In some languages that might be called. So I'm going to call var pgs equals to, that's my paragraphs. I called it pgs, probably not the best name. So let's just not be lazy and type paragraphs here. So that's my paragraphs variable. Now that should return all the paragraphs, and paragraphs is an array, which means if I, for example, wanted to see what's in the first paragraph, so I can do that by using this logger log method. This is like a troubleshooting tool in app scripts. If you're not familiar with it, you're just going to go logger log, and then you can log out the variable to kind of try to see what's in it. So if I save this, so I'm going to log the paragraphs, that should give me all my paragraphs. So I'm going to save this. So you can do Command S, Control S, depending on what system you're on, or you can go under File, Save right there, save this. And now we're going to have to run this. Now to run this function, you can either click this little button here to run, or you can do run function and open that function. Either way, it's going to be fine. So if I click on this, if you're running this for the first time, you may have to give permissions to your application to access the actual document. So I'm going to review permissions, and I'm going to give access. So I'm going to get here, I'm going to go under advanced, scroll down and go to the project unsafe, whatever it says, that's fine. I'm going to click allow, and that should run our script. So at this point, if I go under view and logs, I'm gonna get this. So basically, see, I got paragraph, 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 I don't know, whatever this is. So it gives me, there are a lot of paragraphs. So quite a few, and obviously there are, because we have all these lines in this document, so we should have quite a few paragraphs. Now to get to the first paragraph, that's going to be the first thing in this array of paragraphs. So we can get to it by doing paragraphs 0, and in programming the count starts from 0, which means the first one will be number 0, the second one will be number 1, and so on. So if I save this, go ahead and run this again. If I log, it's going to give me a paragraph, whatever that means. Now, in this paragraph, so that should give us the first paragraph, which should probably be this. This looks like it's the first paragraph. This looks like it's the header information. So this should be our first paragraph that says course name, right? So in this paragraph now, the paragraph is the whole paragraph as is. It's not the text of the paragraph. Now the paragraph has a text, it has styles applied to it, it has fonts applied to it, size for the font, it has a lot of different things, colors, etc., alignment, everything is applied to this paragraph. Now if you wanted to get what's the text in that paragraph, you have to take that paragraph and you do dot, and that gives you what you could get or what you could do to that paragraph. In our case, we're starting with get things. So if I do get, see, I can get alignment, get attributes, get all those different things. But in my particular case, what I'm trying to get is get text. So if I do get text, that should get me the text of that first paragraph. So if I save this and run, view the log, see, that's the first paragraph. The first paragraph text says course name. Now, if we look at the second one, it says report title, right? So if I go back here, and we can get to the second one by changing this 0 to 1. And if I run this, go to view my logs, report title. That's my next paragraph here. So the next paragraph after that is this one. So that would be number 2. right? To get that. And the next paragraph after this is this. Basically, it's an empty line. So 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I do 3 and run this, see, nothing, because the paragraph text is basically empty. There's no text. Now, if we go ahead and actually type something in here, go back and run the same script, that should return that text. Hopefully that makes sense. So basically we start by getting the actual paragraph itself, and then we can start looking at different things in that paragraph. So we can get the text in that paragraph. So let's start working with our first paragraph to get some fundamentals going here. So the first paragraph is this course name, and I'm gonna get to it by using 0. So that gets us our first paragraph text. So I'm gonna remove logger log for the time being, and I'm not also gonna use get text. So I'm gonna do that. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start looking at set attributes and look at set text. So set text is going to allow us to change the text in that paragraph. Currently, the text in that paragraph says course name. So get text will get that text from here. In our set text, I'm going to actually set the text. So currently it's course name. Let's say I want to change it, right? So I'm going to go here and in double quotes to do our string, I'm going to type the text for that paragraph. My new text. Just like that. I'm going to save this script and run. So if we go back, see our text is now saying my new text. So that's how we can modify the actual text by using our set text. I'm going to do this double slashes that will turn this line into a comment in JavaScript, and which means that line is not going to run, but I want you to be able to see that line. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to try to use this other method, and this one is called get attributes. So if I do get attributes, so let's actually assign it to a variable. So that let's just log that variable to see what we get. So I'm going to save this and run. I go back and look at my logs. And you can see what this returns is an object in JavaScript. And if you don't know what the object is, don't worry about it. If you do, that's extra benefit because you'll be able to do more with app scripts. But we can see that there is a font size that's set to null. We have the styling of the font. We have the alignment. We can do a lot of different things, line spacing, etc. So some things are not set, which is the ones are setting null, which basically means it's taking the default size or the styling, whatever is the default. Otherwise, we can set that to something. So for example, if we want to set the size of the font, see, to be a different size, we can use this font size in that particular attribute. So I'm going to copy that font size. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to just comment this lines. I need those for the time being, so I actually lost the copy. Let me go back and copy this again. So I'm gonna need that. So I will just go ahead and start with this paragraphs. And I'm going to do set attributes instead of get attributes, which I was doing. So you can see the pattern here. If we're trying to get something, we do get attributes. If we're trying to change it, we do set of the same thing. So the attribute, it needs to be an object. So I'm going to go ahead and provide this curly brackets for my object syntax. And I'm going to say this font size, colon, 40. So let's do that, save this. I'm gonna go ahead and run the script now. And now if I go look at my document, see that text of that paragraph should be 40. So we set that, see the size of the font right here, font size is 40. So we can go back now, and we could have set any other thing. Now, the way you could set this back to like default, you can do font size null, and that should set it to default. So I'm gonna save this and run. Go back, see it went back to the default font size, which apparently here is 11 in this particular document. Now, if we wanted to change the font size for the second paragraph, what we do instead of 0, we do 1, right? And we set attributes and we decide what the size of that font should be. So if I want a really large font, I'll go with like 70 or something like that. Run this, and that should set this, see, to 70. There it is. Now, if we go back, we could set multiple things at the same time. So I'm gonna comment this out. If I just go back to this, and now I'm simply going to get attributes and log it out to see what attributes we have, right? So this will be for our first paragraph now, not for the second paragraph, which is fine. So I'm gonna run this. So see, font size, that's one of the things we changed. So we might want to change our horizontal alignment or something like that to something different in addition to our font size. So we can do that. We can also set our font family, as you can see, and things like that. So if I take horizontal alignment, I'm gonna copy that, go back here, and I don't need these lines, although I could leave them, they don't really hurt, so I'm going to keep those. So here I'm going to do font size 70, comma, and then horizontal alignment, colon, and then I need to provide what the alignment should be. And we can do that by doing this. So we can't just type like center or something like that. So what we have to do, we have to get the type of alignment we need, and we're going to get it from our document app, from our application. So I'm going to do DocumentApp dot horizontal alignment dot, and then what type of alignment do I want? So if I want to center this alignment, I'll do center, and that should set my alignment to centered. So I'm gonna save this. Now I could run this like this, but to make this a little easy to work with, I'm going to just move these things to their own lines here, like this. And you could keep it on one line, it doesn't matter. So this is just easier to read. So I'm going to save this. This will be C4. I'm going to change this for the first paragraph. So we should set now the first paragraph font size to 70 and make alignment centered. Currently, if we look, see the text is really small and it's left aligned. So I'm going to run this. Go back. Well, we set it to too big. Now we can't even tell the alignment is actually centered. So let's make it a little smaller. I'm going to do like 30 or so. And you can see now the text is size 30 and alignment is actually now centered. So we could change, as I was saying, multiple things. Now if I go back, let's say we want to change the font family to a different font family. So I'm going to copy this. Attribute in this object, that's my font family. I'm going to do a comma here because we want to add another one. And font family, we need to set it to a different font family, right? So I'm going to go with DocumentApp font family dot, and now we have our font families. So I'm going to try this one. Save, run. So there it is. See, the font has changed now to this. So these are the fonts that we have in here. So you could change the font family, as you can see. Some other things we might want to change. Let's see, what are some common things that are going to be important. We might be set it to bold, right? So if I want to change the text to bold, so currently, see, it's not, this is not checked, it's not bold. So if I want to change that, I'll do bold and I'll set it to true. So that means it's gonna make it bold. I go back, see it's bold, And if I change the bold to false, that should change it back to not bold. And the same thing would happen if you were using this. So you can set it to true or false. Same thing. So you can do underline. If you want to make it underline, you do underline true. Run. See, now there's underline. So all of these properties, hopefully you're starting to get the idea how you work with this. The other thing I'm going to mention, which is going to be pretty standard probably that you need to know, is going to be foreground color. So basically that's your text color, and background color is the background color. So if I do foreground color, I'm going to go here, and we need to provide what color we want it to be. And the color you could do is going to be basically like a hex color. Now hex colors, you're gonna have to get it from, I don't know, you can get it from Photoshop. If you're using Photoshop, you can get it from a lot of editors, right, to get the hex color. If you're not familiar with hex color is, we might be able to get it from our browser. So if I go to, let's say here to google.com, right, and I right click on some element here, and by the way, I'm using Google Chrome, so you should be able to do this on most current browsers, but definitely you can do this on Chrome. So if you don't have Google Chrome, maybe try that. If I right click on this particular button and click inspect, now over here, see, for example, it gives me the color of that button, and see this #757575 is the text color over here. So if I wanted to change it to something different, with this particular browser, I can click on this little icon with a color and change it to some other, let's say this red or whatever color I want. I can use this color picker and basically find a different color. So let's say I want this blue color, right? So I go and check a blue color. That's the code, hex code for that color. So if you don't have a different application to get your hex codes, then you could do this. So if I go back and set it to this, and it's a text parameters, so in double quotes, save this, I run this, I'm gonna go back, and there it is. My font color now is in that blue that I set from here. So again, what I did here, just to repeat, I took this, right click, inspect on that button, and that gives me the color of this button. And by the way, keep in mind that Google is probably going to change this page, and you can't just rely on just doing this exactly on Google, but you could do that on any website, right? So if you right click on an element and inspect, you should most likely get the color and background color that's applied to that element. And then you can go and try to change it and see what you get. So really any of these color boxes should work. So you click on this, go and pick whatever color you want. So let's say I'm going to set it to like green. It's going to more look like, I don't know, this. Simply copy that hex code, go back, and over here, £1 key, save, run this. And now we go back, now it's green. So we can set our colors like that as well. We can also do our background colors. If you remember, there was background color, and it's going to be the same, only instead of foreground color, we're going to set our background color. So if I set it to, let's say this, go back, make sure I have the right color here. So that's both of those colors, run that, go back. See, now I have background and foreground color for that text. And finally, if I basically want to reset these things, I just do null. And this should reset it to document default. So here we go. We went back, we set it all to null. The only thing that I probably changed, some things we changed during the period and then we didn't keep them. So for example, the underlined text, I have that here. Well, I used to have it, but now it's not. So now we kept that underlined text. So if we wanted to reset that too, we would go back and find underline. So I can go back here and set that to null. Run, and now it's gone to document default. So that's for our basic changes you might want to do to text programmatically. Now the next thing I want to talk about is different heading types or different text types, whatever you want to call this. So for right now, when you look at this line, see it says normal text. So if I open here, we can set it to title, subtitle, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, etc. So for example, if I look at this second line, see this one is a title. It's not a normal text. So that actually is a part of our attributes as well. So if we switch this to paragraphs 1 to get attributes, I'm going to keep this, let it run and reassign the first line. That's okay. I'm going to run this. So now we should get the second paragraph because now it's 1. So if I check the log, see if we look through this, well, hopefully I'll find it at some point. There it is, heading. It says title. So heading is set currently to title, right? So let's say we want to change this to something different. So, or by the way, if we look for, let's say this element, that's our subtitle. So if we go back here and change this to 2, and we'll run the same thing. Now see heading is subtitle. Now we could change all of that obviously. So if I wanted my first paragraph, which is this one, to become a title like this, so I can go here and again, in addition to all of those, I'm gonna go get my heading. So we could keep all of those, but I'm gonna get rid of all of this. So we can take that heading and we're gonna set it to title, and we can't, it's not text. So what you have to do again, you have to go through your application. And here we're going to get our, where is it? There it is, paragraph heading. And then we're gonna choose the type of heading we want. So if we want title, see, we can set heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, heading 4, heading 5, heading 6, normal subtitle, and title. Title would be what we're looking for. So, oops, I don't need that semicolon there. It's an object, semicolon is here, ending the line. So I'm going to save this, run. If we go back, now this should be set to title. Now see, this is title, this is title. Now this has different size and everything. And this one is bold and has 70 size. See, if we look, it's bold and it's 70. So it has different properties. So we could probably match all of that. We could probably steal it from this one and match it, by the way. But we could also set it one by one, right? So we could do 70, bold, and we could do the type of the font. So if we want to set it to bold, again, we have to set multiple things. So we're going to do bold, should be true. Then we're going to get our font size. Should be 70. I'm not sure if there's anything else, but if I save this, run this, and we got nothing, right? So why aren't these things working, right? So what's happening right now is because we're setting it to title, and the title has already all kinds of preset ways it's done, And when we do this too, it doesn't actually change anything. So this should work if we then separately decide to change this bold and font size. Let's try that. If I copy this, add another line, let's say we just change it to title. And then we set the size of the paragraph and all of that. So now see, it worked. So what was the difference between the two? Well, the difference is here, if you're familiar with your documents, your title has a preset size and everything. So for example, if I take this, which is a heading 1, and I change it to title, see, this is the way the title is designed, that title element. So now you can change that later on and say, okay, I'm gonna change my title and then I'm gonna set it to like this size, or change some other things about that title, right? So you can do all those things. I'm gonna undo those, but the title element itself isn't changing while you're doing this, because you can then change, you can take this new title and apply this new title here, right? And you can say apply it to basically match this. So you can just make the title itself change to this size, so everywhere else you use the title, it's basically just using the same element. So again, if you don't know this, go back and get into like basics of document editing. But for that reason, I had to do this separately. I had to set it to title, and then I had to set all of these attributes. So getting back to our heading, so for example, if we look at this one, see, this is heading 1. So this would be our which paragraph? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I look at paragraph 4, let's actually take this. That's my paragraph 4. And instead of making this a title, let's say I want this to be a heading 2. So currently that used to be heading 1. If you look here. So if we run this, go back, see, this is a heading 2 now. If I want to set it back to heading 1, obviously I can. Save and run, go back, and now it's heading 1 again. So that's how we can set our heading properties. And I think I'm going to end this video on that. So that should give you a good fundamental understanding how you interact with different paragraphs in your document. So you have a document, you have your paragraphs, you can get different attributes from that paragraph, and you can also set those attributes, or you can set the text and get the text from that paragraph. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.